What's up, everybody? I'm Matt.
And I'm Beth.
And today we're going to be reviewing the interior in the 2021 Toyota RAV4 Prime. So this Prime version is the electrified version of the RAV4. Beyond the regular hybrid, this has 42 miles of electric range. It has a plug, so you can plug it in every night. And the electric motors are powerful enough you can actually drive around and do your normal stuff every single day entirely on electricity and never even use the gas engine. But it's nice having the gas engine as well. So anyway, you can go watch my whole driving review if you want to hear all my thoughts on the RAV4 Prime. I think this is a really cool setup. But this interior also gets some exclusive things that the other versions of the RAV4, even a maxed out regular RAV4, doesn't get. Like, for example, a heads-up display, which you cannot get currently in any other RAV4. You also get a 9-inch touchscreen display versus the 8-inch screens you get in most other RAV4s as well. And so there's lots of those little things and a couple other things that are unique to the interior of this vehicle. But this one also is fully loaded. So this one is almost $49,000. It's like $48,830 or something like that. So this is a maxed out version of the Prime as well. So it's pretty nice in here. Obviously, it's not going to be as luxurious as some of the entry-level luxury stuff you can get at, you know, almost $50,000. But you have to keep in mind you have the electric component, which is a lot more expensive. And I still think that this, you know, it doesn't feel much out of that price range. I think it does feel, you know, pretty worthy of that price when you consider all the things that you get here with it, you know, all the tech you get and stuff. And I think it's pretty nice looking the way the whole design of everything is too.
Yeah, it's definitely very cohesive. Everything is put together really nicely.
Everything makes sense too.
Yeah.
Some other cars we've been reviewing recently have had like weird design decisions and everything's just
and like a color here and a different color on this side and just all that. And I like that this is all put together very nicely and it's all black, you know. I don't know.
Yes, and I do like how you do have the red stitching here, which jazzes it up a little bit. That's something that is exclusive here to the Prime version. I believe the regular hybrids get blue stitching and regular RAV4s I think have white stitching or something. So the red is a nice little touch. This one also has these red accents here on the seats. That is something that you do get on all XSEs, I believe, but then this Premium gives you, I think, a little bit more red accents because these are perforated seats in the XSE Premium because you have the cooled seats and stuff. But anyway, while we're on the topic of seats, that's the first thing that we can talk about here. They're really nice here in the RAV4 Prime. You know, I think they have good bolstering for a regular SUV. You know, it's a little sportier than some of the competitors, which I appreciate as an enthusiast, but still super comfortable seats.
Yeah, they are really comfortable. The only thing for me is that even though there are power seats on here, I think the only thing that I'm not crazy about is that I can't adjust the height. And I wish that I could adjust the height because when we first sat in this car, I felt like I was sitting up super high. And I know a lot of people like sitting up high, but I like sitting up high when I'm driving, not necessarily when I'm riding. So that's one thing that I wasn't crazy about with this seat.
The driver's seat does go up and down, so I do have that functionality here. But even myself, I still would like it to go a little bit lower for the driver's seat. But I did get used to it. You know, this is an SUV and stuff, so I'm expecting to sit up a little bit higher. But you do have that adjustment here on the driver's side. It's just the passenger side where you don't. Also, it's worth noting that you don't even get a power passenger seat unless you are in this XSE Premium. All of the versions of the RAV4 Prime will have a manual passenger seat, so that is something worth noting there as well. But yeah, they're heated and cooled, and that is nice. Now, they have cooling features also only on these premium versions of the XSE. Everything else just gets heated seats, and the cooled seats I wasn't crazy about.
Yeah, they're definitely nicer than my car. My car's cooled seats are not very great at all, but these ones are nicer. However, it did take a while for me to feel anything, and sometimes when you get in a car on a really hot day, you just want that immediate power and that immediate cooling sensation or warming. So I just wish that it got cooler faster than it did.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem very powerful.
Right.
It's like it like ventilated the seat, but it didn't actually cool the seat. Like maybe it was blowing lukewarm air through there and not actually freezing cold air. And like, you know, I mean, there are some that do it better. You know, like Hyundai and Kia, they have really cooled seats, and like you can't even leave it on that long because it like freezes you. And like even my Mustang, like the seat bottom on that gets really cold. It feels like you like peed your pants. It's so cold. So
yeah.
Like, you know, there are some that do it better. I think I would appropriately call this ventilated seats, not actually cooled seats. And I think that's how Toyota actually brands them, as ventilated seats. So in all fairness, you know, don't expect it to get super cold, but it does, I guess, air things out a little bit. But anyway, the heated seats also are going to work well, of course. And you also have lumbar adjustment here on the driver's seat as well, which is really nice. Next, though, is the steering wheel here in the RAV4 Prime, which is the same as any other RAV4 aside from having the red stitching. But I do like the leather wrapping. For some reason, this feels a little bit higher quality than the previous RAV4s that I've been in with their leather wrapped steering wheels. You know, it's not, I don't think, the highest quality feeling leather wrapping, but it does feel pretty good. Just some basic plastic buttons here on it. You know, there are some others in the segment that'll have, you know, some kind of metal for the steering wheel. This is all just plastic, aside from this little trim ring here. But it's a good steering wheel, gets the job done. You also have paddle shifters here on the back of all XSE versions of the RAV4 Prime, and so that's good to have, and you know, allows you to do a little bit of extra regen here with the electric motors and stuff. If you know how all that stuff works, you can play with that a little bit, or you can just not touch them at all, and it's totally fine. But nice that they give you that on the XSE. The gauges are also really good. They're basically the same as what you're going to see in a normal hybrid RAV4. You know, you just have the larger battery gauge there, which will show you how much of your battery you have, and that's nice. But I like how you still have the analog dials, because there are some other electric vehicles that really try to be futuristic with their gauge clusters, and it kind of gets a little cluttered and confusing. I like that this is nice and simple. You don't have a tach, you just have this whole power thing on the left hand side, you have your gas gauge, you have your electric, you know, gauge, and that's it. And I think that's a lot more digestible for the average person that's not going to nerd out about all the electric stuff in their vehicle and just wants to get in and know that they have enough power to get wherever they need to go. But you do have there in the center a couple different things you can display there, like your electric range, of course. It also gives you a little bit of grading thing where it can coach you on how to get better efficiency, which is kind of cool. And then you also have all the typical things showing you your audio settings, all that type of stuff. It also will show you your power flow, so it'll, you know, you can stare at that if you want to see when the gas engine's kicking on, when the batteries are kicking in, whether it's the front motors, the rear motor, whatever. That's all very cool to, you know, keep tabs on. It's kind of fun. And all the other usual settings and stuff there as well if you'd like. And also, if you're not a big fan of analog speedometers, you know, even though this is digital, it looks like an analog display, you can switch that over in the settings to just have a normal speed readout if you want to simplify that even further, which is nice that you have that functionality as well. There's also, like I said, that heads-up display here. That is only in the XSE Premium, so this maxed out version is the only one that gets that. It is nice. It's very similar to the one you get in the Highlander, if not identical, and looks good though. It's colorful, pretty high resolution, pretty large, and a really well done heads-up display. Coming over to the center of the dashboard here, you have this 9-inch touchscreen infotainment system, which is something you get on all XSE versions. The SE gets a 8-inch screen. It's the same screen though, it's just a tiny bit smaller. Both are totally fine. And I like this system. Now, some have said it's not as fancy looking as some of the competition, and I will agree. It doesn't wow me with how beautiful it is or anything, but it works, and it's simple. It's very simple to change radio stations. You have a volume and a tune knob. You have little hard buttons here, just a few basic menu things. It has the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integration. It does everything you need it to do, and it does it all well and easily without you having to read the owner's manual to figure it out. You can hop in here, you know how to work it already. It's nice and simple. Yeah,
definitely no distractions or anything like that. You know how to do it, and there you go.
Yeah, and I think that speaks volumes, because yeah, there might be some others that dazzle you more with fancier things, but I think there's something to be said for simplicity whenever, you know, these things keep getting more and more distracting in other cars. I like that this is nice and simple. They nailed that, I think. You also have this one paired up with this JBL stereo, which comes on, you know, the option packages here on top of the XSE. And it's a nice system. It's 11 speakers. I don't remember the exact wattage, but it's not, you know, an amazing stereo experience or anything, but I think it is a nice upgrade. I haven't tested a standard non-JBL version of the RAV4 yet to compare recently, but I will say that this sounds pretty good, and if you value a high quality audio experience, you're probably going to want to pay for the JBL upgrade, just to have that. You know, it gives you a subwoofer and all that kind of stuff, which is good. And so nice to have that. Coming down, you have your basic climate controls here, which are about the same. You do have this eco mode for heating and cooling, where it won't kick on as aggressively to try and conserve your electric range and stuff like that. But I love these nice large knobs, very easy to see, again, without taking your eyes off the road. You can fumble around and figure out where this is very easily. easily. It's not like some tiny little, thing like some other vehicles, and I think they really did that well. You have nice large displays for everything, and I think that's, pretty attractive as well.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty in your face, like, this is your climate controls.
It does come out a lot.
Yeah, but it's still nice to be able to know exactly where everything is, especially when you're driving. It's great.
Yeah, so again, I think they really did a good job on minimizing distraction. There's also a drive mode selector to put into sport or eco, and this trail mode, which helps, whenever you're on slippery surfaces and things like that. And so that's great, but that's really the only area that has a lot of buttons. Otherwise, it is so wonderfully simple. In this area, you'll also see your wireless charging pad, which is something that I believe comes on all XSE versions, and so that's a nice feature to have. And it is actually a little bit rubberized too, so it's better than some other wireless charging pads and other vehicles that have this hard thing here. It just slides around. I like that that's, kind of out of the way as well, because we just reviewed the Highlander not too long ago, and that has it in the center console. Not a good solution. This is much better. But moving on to storage space, beyond this wireless charging pad, you have these nice large pockets in the doors with a bottle holder, which is great. But then you also have a couple little bonus spaces. So on my side here, I have this little cubby right by the turn signal stock, and it's nicely illuminated at night with ambient lighting too here in the XSE versions, which is really cool. And
also on my side, there is this really big cubby here that is really nice. You can definitely fit a phone in there. You can fit some chapstick. You can fit some sunglasses, anything like that. Even maybe a small wallet or your ID, anything like that. It is really nice that you can be able to just throw it in there real quick and not have to worry about where you're putting it or anything like that. It's definitely nice to have that there.
Yeah, and it's rubberized, so it holds things in place a little bit better
exactly,
too.
Yeah.
They did a really good job with that as well. Beyond that, you have these two cup holders here, which are pretty nice and deep, and also have this little ridge around them, so I think they're going to kind of contain drinks a little bit better than regular cup holders would, so I think that's really well designed. You also have this center armrest, which is actually really pretty plush. It's got a good level of foam there to make it feel pretty soft, and anyway, you open that up, and then you have your average size cubby here. It's not the largest or anything. I think the CR-V still has this beat on storage space, but a good amount of space, again, to fit sunglasses, things like that. You also will find 2 more USB jacks in there. Backseat space here in the RAV4 Prime is also really good. So one great thing here with the RAV4s is there isn't any compromise because of the battery. So you have the same passenger space as any other RAV4, which is great. And it's a pretty spacious back seat. It might not, again, be the absolute best in its class, but it is very competitive and one of the best. So I'm 5'9", me sitting behind myself. I easily have about 3 to 4 inches of legroom to spare. Certainly, plenty of headroom and stuff. It's a very spacious and roomy back seat that I don't think anyone's going to really complain about. And it is nice having the panoramic roof for those sitting in that back seat as well, so they can look up at the sky and stuff. And you also see back there, there's bottle holders in those doors. Any XSE with the all-weather package, which gives you the heated steering wheel, those will also give you heated outboard rear seats. So you'll see that there by the window switches, which is great for those backseat passengers. And they're also going to have their own air vents back there, as well as 2 USB jacks back there as well. So that's all great. They can keep everything hooked up, and you also have a fold-down center armrest with 2 cup holders built into there as well. Trunk space is also really good here in the RAV4 Prime. Now, I think they said officially, the way they quoted it, it's like 1.5 cubic feet less than a regular hybrid RAV4. I believe the floor is just ever so slightly higher. I think it's just the way the cargo cover is, but they actually were able to maintain a pretty large spare tire underneath that area there. So you still have, your big spare tire. You still have, plenty amount of space there to stack things, since this is a nice boxy hatch. And you also, of course, just have a nice wide and long space. And also here, if you go for this premium version, that does give you an additional standard house current power outlet back there in the trunk, which is great. Also back with that spare tire area is where you can also store your power cable here to plug in the RAV4 Prime if you want. This one I just had laying out there because that's the way it was delivered to me. But you can conceal that under the floor as well if you'd like. And so overall, I don't think that in the real world you're going to see a huge difference in cargo capacity between this and a regular RAV4. It's going to be very minute differences, and again, it shouldn't be an issue for basically anyone. But yeah, overall, I think the RAV4 Prime interior here is really nice. The only little thing that I wish, in addition to the cooled seats being better, is I wish they had some padding here by the transmission tunnel, because that's just hard plastic, and that's the only thing that I think makes this feel a little bit cheap, because everything else is pretty nice and padded, on the doors doors and everything, all the elbow points are all nice. It's just your knee does come in contact with this transmission tunnel area, and I wish that, you know, there was a little bit of padding here. That'd be very inexpensive to put a little bit of padding there, and that would go a long way to making this, you know, feel like it's premium everywhere you look and touch. But aside from that tiny little caveat, I think it's really nice. I love the ambient lighting at night, looks really nice. I think all these extra exclusive features for the Prime, like the heads-up display and the panoramic roof, I think really set this apart and you know, make it feel pretty premium and worthy of it being the most expensive RAV4 you can get.
Yeah, and these door handles are really cool. Another extra thing is that they are kind of rubberized, so it definitely stands out. It's not something that we see in a lot of cars. Yeah,
and it allows you to have a pretty good grip. There's also rubbery material here by the climate control knobs too, and I think it's kind of a different choice. But I like
it's cool though. Yeah,
it kind of I think it reinforces the like slightly rugged vibe of, you know, RAV4 being an SUV and adventure and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think it's really nice. I think they did a great job here with the RAV4 interior. I mean, clearly people love them. They're selling like 300,000 of these things a year. So Toyota figured it out. They knew how to do this well to appeal to, you know, as many people as possible, and I think they did a great job on it. But yeah, so that's all our thoughts here on the RAV4 Prime. Let us know all your thoughts on the interior of the RAV4 Prime in the comments below. Thank you guys very much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Take care.